coming. It's really exciting. Talking about a topic that I've been researching and doing since 1980. I got started in the topic of what is known as note grouping, or a way of shaping music so that you can express what's on the page more accurately than we're used to. What I mean by that, there's a lot of misconceptions about rhythm, and because notation is not, it doesn't lend itself in itself how to shape music. So we need to put that on there. Just to give you an example, I put some things on here, and I'm going to put a lot more. But what I have here is, what I want to talk about today is the 4/4 meter, 3/4 meter, and or any, it could be 3/8, it could be 3/4, but the same thing. And also 6/8, and how to play those meters so that it really sounds like those meters. In other words, when we have a bar line structure and everything has to fit, we have 4 beats in the measure, and we have to make sure that we have only one first beat. A lot of people play everything as a first beat, and it's just natural. So if I was to play this, da 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 da, 1 E and da da da, you wouldn't have 1 E and a 2 E and. The audience would just hear 1 E and a 1 E and a 1. They wouldn't hear 1, 2, 3, 4. Not if you do that. So there's got to be a way to make 1 sound like 1, and 2 sound like 2, and 3 and 4, all the way through. A lot of things I'm going to tell you, you already know. Doesn't matter. I'm going to make sure we're on the same page. So we all know that beat 1 is the downbeat, the strong beat. Okay. Well, that means that how we're going to get to beat 2, we have to do it in a way that will link it and make the music go forward toward beat 2. Let's make something very clear. We never play after a beat. We always play toward the next beat. And in reality, we're playing toward the next downbeat. Everything's headed toward over the bar line. But we don't play this second note after the first note. We play the second note before the third note. In reality, we're playing it before the second beat. In reality, you're playing it all the way to the next first beat. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we make something sound like 1, 2, 3, 4? First of all, we know that 1 is strong. And we all know, we should know that now beat 3, being in the middle of the bar, is the next strong pulse. Not as strong as 1, but it is a stronger pulse than 2 and 4. So I have a method that I came up with over the years, and it's this. When I see 8 notes, and I do see 8 here, and there's also 8 here, I link these 2 beats together by a thing called 3-3-2. So I'm going to do this, this, and that. So I'm going to have, if you group it together, what you're going to get is not 3 16th notes, but you're really going to be in reality playing a dotted 8th and a 16th. So my lectures, and I've been lecturing at UCSD for 32 years, so my lectures go all over the place. And everybody says I'm disorganized, but it's no, I'm organized, just you don't understand my organization.
Fair enough.
Okay, fine. But the thing is this. Have you all been on an airplane and you've gone all across country and you see these fields, and you could see these designs in the fields, circles or other things, or what picture, it's all like these wheat fields or something. You can't see it when you're on the ground. All you see is grass or whatever. But when you're above it, you see all these designs. And that's what we have to do in music. If we look at the street level of this, all we see is 16th notes. But if you get above it and you group things together, and you can get a picture of what the actual rhythm that you're trying to express. In this case, I'm expressing a dotted eighth, which is 3/16 plus a 16th. And that 16th is going to get me to beat 2. That's my link to beat 2. So I have here yum, ba-bum. And here, I'm actually going to play an eighth note here and an eighth note here in terms of pulse, even though there's 16 notes going on. So yum, ba-bum, bum, bum, almost like a tango. Okay, what? Okay, so this is complex, but I'm going to try to make it clear. So we have one, da two. Okay, so here yum, ba-bum. I've gotten some beat strong to a weak 2, yum, ba-bum. Now I have to get to beat 3. Huh? How am I going to get there? I could do another one of these dotted things. Yum, ba-bum, ba-bum. I can do that all the way through. But I don't. In generalization, I don't. Why? Because 3 is strong, and I want to approach beat 3 by an eighth note pulse, not a 16th. Because the 16th note pulse is more gentle. Yum, da-da. There's 2. So it's 1, da-da, and 3. I'm approaching 3 stronger from a much, it's like playing golf or something. I don't want to hit, I'm not just trying to get, I want to go really far, right? So I got to go far. So yum, ba-bum, bum, bum, ba-bum, bum, bum. So 1 and da 2 and 3 and da 4 and 1. That is my method of doing, in generalization, when I see 8 notes, that's the first thing I'm going for. And I came up with it, 3, 3, 2. 3, because there's 3/16, or 3 notes and 3, and then ends up with a 2. 3, 3, 2. There's something you must know. Just because it starts with the first note, it doesn't mean that, in this case, the first note is stressed. In this case, it's the second note that's stressed. Okay, so yum, ba, ba. So it's 3, 3, 3, but it is 3, 3, 2, but it isn't always da, 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 da. It's not doing that. Okay, I hope that's clear. Okay, fine. So that's something I'm giving you, because if you see 8 notes and you want to know how to organize it, that works. Now, let's go a little bit further. Let's say the piece was a little bit faster. Let's say the piece was not in 4, but in half notes, cut time. So there's nothing happening on 2. It's all about 1 and the big 2. Half note. You have am I clear? If you're in cut time, 2, 2. So you have a half note here and a half note there. So we're not no longer in 4. We're in we're in 2. So how would I do that? Well, that means I'm not really interested in getting to beat 2 any longer. I'm only interested in getting to beat, not 2 quarter note 2. I'm only interested in getting to beat 2 of the half note. Am I clear? How do I do it? So now I combine stuff. So I can do a 3 plus 5, or in this case I would do a 5 plus 3. So here's beat 1, and here's beat 2, big beat 2. So we're going to do a 5 and a 3. So and I'm going to actually have music to show you what I mean and how to do it. So I'm now doing a 5 plus 3. And you can say, why bother with all this? Why don't you just play the music? Well, because if you don't, you're not playing the music. You're playing the notes. Okay. So, oh, I got a clarinet somewhere. Let me see. Let's say I do a scale. That's 5 plus 3. And the last note is the next beat. So it's not 3, it's actually 4. But how about the other version, 3, 3, 2? You hear that? How about 3 plus 5? You can do that, it's easy. It all depends how the music goes and how fast you're doing it and the harmonic structure behind it. It's a lot of variables. But in general, it's either 3, 3, 2, 5 plus 3, 3 plus 5. Any questions on that? Do you understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it? It defines for me the beats. It makes the music flow. I'm no longer having only downbeats and heavy beat. All right, fine. Now, the next one, that has to do with 2/4 and 4/4, okay? Good. I'm going to get to 3/4 in a second. I want to go to 2/4 before I get to the 3/4. And I'm going to do 6/8 too, so don't worry. 2/4. There's a rhythm that bothers me because I wouldn't say never, but I don't normally hear it played correctly because people's conception of this rhythm, 1/8, 2/16 and a quarter, they think, when you say that and I ask you how many 16th notes do you have, you're going to say, well, there's 2. I see them right there. But there isn't 2. There's only 1 16th. This second note here looks like a 16th, but it really is an 1/8. I'm going to talk to you in a couple ways. If I got rid of the third note, or the 16th, that last 16th, if I got rid of it, you would say, oh, I have 2 8s. You would clearly see that. So it would be 1 and 2. But what I hear mostly is I'm hearing an accent on the first 16th because you think it has to go fast, so you put an accent on it. So you have 1 da da da. What does the audience hear? They don't hear 1 and a 2. They hear and 1 e and 1 e and. If you do that, you shift the downbeat from the first note to the second note. That's just orally what people will hear in the audience. If you go, if it's supposed to be 1 and 2, and people play, they hear a pickup to the second note. They go dum ya ba bum, and that's what most people play because they think, oh, it's a 16th, I gotta play fast. But all it is an 1/8. You don't really have 2 16ths. You only have 1. Is that note there is a 16th. Let me talk to you about it in another way. It isn't the note itself that makes it a 16th. It's the placement of the note. What do I mean by that? It's the distance it is from the next beat. The distance of that second note, that looks like a 16th, is actually an 8th note distance to beat 2. Is that clear? Okay, so then you can't play it, and you can't play it like a 16th note because it isn't. It has that note and any other note you play. It has to be in relationship to whatever the next beat is. It isn't to whatever the next to it. So the second 16th in this example isn't a 16th note after the first. It's 3 16ths before the second beat. It has to be. Let me talk to you about this. We don't play after beat 1. A conductor conducts beat 1. That beat 1 is finished. Everything that comes afterwards is headed toward the next beat. You don't play after beat 1. You don't. You don't play after beat 2 either, by the way. It's 1, that's done. Now everything goes toward the next thing. 1 and a 2. I'll give you another example. I'm all on a roll here. Okay, fine. This is so exciting to me. I hope it makes sense to you. Okay. I've been thinking about this for 35 years. Here's a rhythm that looks kind of difficult. And it's only difficult because people think of it in a weird way. This is the 16th rest. Okay, here's 3 16ths. That's the first beat. Okay, second beat is a 16th rest, a 16th, a 16th rest, and another 16th. And then a bar line and a downbeat. Oh, maybe not even a downbeat. Let's call that another rest. Make it more difficult. Let's say there's another rest here, and this is the same as the other measure. Okay. Recently, I heard people play this backwards. And what I mean by that is they're playing the first note that you play, the second 16th in this bar, in this beat, as an after the rest. So I'm getting an accent on it. So I'm here, instead of playing E and da, 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 let me put it in context. Instead of hearing this, I'm hearing. Now the audience doesn't hear what's written. They hear the first note as being on the beat but late. Oh, it meant to be on the late, but the guy came in. It meant to be on the beat, the guy came in late. They don't hear it, what's written. Why? Because they put an accent. Why do they put an accent? Because they're trying to play after beat 1. And you can't play after beat 1. But 1 is over. I'd love to have lunch with you yesterday, but I can't. Today, tomorrow, yesterday, forget about it. I can't. Does that make, okay.
Yeah.
So, you can't put an accent after a rest, because the audience will not hear it as a syncopation. They will hear it as you just being late on the downbeat. So it has to be da-yada or e-anda. That's the first beat. And the next beat, people really mess that up. They say, oh, that's really hard. I got to play after 2. And they're trying to fit it in. No, it's the same thing as this measure. It's so e-anda, bum, ba, ba. Da-da, ba, da, da. It's not da-da-da, ba, ba. It's like, don't do that. Thank you. Okay?
Okay.
All right, that's my thing. Okay, fine. So how do you play this 2/4 rhythm? The yum, ba, ba, ba. It's going to be, what you're playing here is not an 8th and 2 16ths. It's actually a dotted 8th and a 16th. That's my, so when I'm saying you're looking on a plane, you're seeing all these designs, this is the design that you're seeing above the notation. In other words, you're seeing the conglomerate of what these rhythms put together, or grouping of them, rapidly represents. So actually what you're playing here is not yum, ba, bum, ba, ba, ba. You're playing yum, ba, ba, ba. Yum, ba, ba, ba. Yum, 1 and da 2. Not 1 and da 2. Yes? Okay, good. I'm glad I got that out of my system. Now, so that covers 2/4, 2/2, 4/4. Now we have 3/4. This one's an amazing thing. Meters that have an odd number on top. So that would be 3/4 or 3/8. I don't care what the number on the bottom is. I don't care. But let's say, we'll just call it for now 3/4. Also 5/4 is a very magical thing. Let's deal with 3/4 first. Let me know if I need to get the hook or something. Okay, fine. So, we have 3 beats. First of all, there's no such thing as anything in 3. It doesn't exist. No triplets. Triplets do not exist. You thought all along, oh, there must be triplets in music. They don't exist. It's a fallacy. Get it out of your system. The way you play 3s is you either have 1 note or plus 2, or you have 2 notes plus 1. That's it. Unless you're doing contemporary music, then it's 1.5 or 1.5. But we're not doing that. So it's gotta, when you look at the music, it's either gonna be 1, 2, 3, 1, which is a waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's a waltz. So it's either 1, 2, 3, 1, or it's a minuet. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Minuet, waltz. Those are the 2 differences. 1, 2, 3, 1. So it's either half note plus a quarter, or a quarter note plus a half, and that is it. Okay. Now I want to show you the magical thing about grouping in an odd meter like this. You thought it says 3/4 notes. Flip it around, it's actually 4 3s. That's how you do it. Here's 1 set of 3, here's your second set of 3, here's your third set of 3, and your last set of 3. There's actually 4 beats in that measure. It's ya da di ba ya da 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 ya da 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 da. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 1. Yeah, and so when you play music that has 9 notes, well, what's it, 12 notes like this? I'll play something in that fashion for you. Am I doing it right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And that's how you do it. Just flip it around. Same thing with 5/4. You don't have 5 4s, you have 4 5s. That's how you do 5/4. And so I just put a couple more in there and you'll see. Is these, are these generalizations? Absolutely, because music is all kinds of things. It has to do with the style, it has to do with the speed, it has to do with the harmonic structure. I'm just giving you a basis of how to think in a generalized way to make music work. So if I added a couple more of these, all right, do I have 5? Yes. So we just do 5. We just do 4 of those 5s, and you'll get your smoothness, and you will define every beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have da da dee da da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. And you actually now have not a 5/4 measure, but a 4/5 measure. Okay. I want to talk about 6/8. I must talk to you about 6/8 because most people don't do it right. Thank you very much. They don't do it. They do it what you've been taught. I understand that. They think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They think the stress is on 1 and 4. It isn't. In 6/8, it is not on 1 and 4. It's on 1, 3, and 5. That's where the stresses are on 6/8. Yata, so 1, yata, ba, ya, ba, ba, da. Let's go to, where is a good example? Let's do Mozart. Everybody get their Mozart concerto, 3rd movement, 6/8 movement. Let's do that. Here's the way to play it with the beat on 1 and 4. Tell me if you like it. Okay, that's on 1 and 4. Don't like it. I don't personally like it. But listen, it's on 1, 3, and 5. You see where the 5 is? It's on an F sharp. 6 and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6, and 5 and 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it make sense?
Did you?
I'm going to do it 1 and 4. To me, it doesn't work. And I'll prove it to you. Look what he does in the next measure. 6 and 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5. Yes? See that? 5 and 6 and 1. Where does he put the stress? Mozart himself put it on 1, 3, and 5. So don't tell me the first measure is anything other than 1, 3, and 5. It isn't. It's not just this piece. It's all 6/8. They're all 1, 3. The stress is on 1, 3, and 5. It's never on 1 and 4. For 1, yes, but 4, no. If you do that, you will not have a beat, a strong beat and a second beat. You just have 1 beat and another 1 beat. You just have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You won't have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Making sense? You don't do it. Let's go to another movement of, we do it on Stamit's concerto. Same thing. It's also 6/8. 3rd movement of the Stamit's 3rd concerto and the Mozart concerto are very close in structure. And Mozart actually heard this piece performed, so he's aware of this piece. And it follows, the Mozart concerto actually follows the Stamit's 3 in structure. So here we go. 3rd movement of the Stamit's concerto. 1, 3, 5. playing slow so you can hear it. Okay, now you're going to tell me there's a slur in the fourth measure on beats 4 and 5. This is something I must tell you. Articulation has nothing to do with note grouping, not anything in the remote area. I don't care if you're slurring something or you're tonguing something. It has nothing to do with shaping a phrase. Absolutely, they're totally different and it has no influence. So, how am I going to play the third bar? There's a slur from beats 4 to 5. Doesn't matter. It's still 5, that's the one that's important. Let me play bar 3 for you. Okay? Do you hear it? Even though I'm slurring to it, it's beat 5 that's moving to beat 6. 5 and 6. The slur has nothing to do with it. Okay? I want to talk to you about, I talked about 6/8. I want to go to 12/8. Or if you don't want to do 12/8, we do 4/4 with triplets, which don't exist. Anyways, let's make it easier. And let's not do 12/8, let's do 4/4 with triplets. It's the same thing, it doesn't really matter. It's the same notation, it's the same idea. 4/4 with triplets, which don't exist. I want to tell you what's happening here. I'm not going to play at this level of this, the bass level of this ya da 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 da. I'm not going to do that. If this guy wants triplets so badly, why don't we just bump it up to half note triplets? How do we do it? Well, 4 of those guys will make a half note, a triplet half note, by the way, and 4 of these guys will make another triplet half note. And those 4 together make a triplet half note. So I am playing triplets, but at the half note level, not the 8th note level. So how do I do it? Why don't I play for you, it's supposed to be a bass clarinet. There's a piece called On the Trail, maybe you know it. I'm not playing anything other than 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the next 4. Okay? That I'm only playing, I'm not playing. The conductor will say, next. You got off the trail. Whatever. I'm not thinking this. I'm thinking half note triplets. And it's all done with 4s. So forget about the 3s. Don't exist. 4s, why is it 4? Because 4 of those triplet guys make a half note triplet guy. Now, the rest of the time I want to go to the rows, because I want to go through as many as possible to show you how to put them together. Let's start with number 1. What do you see? It's in 4/4, all right? Most people say, well, okay, I got beat 1, that's pretty important. And beat 3 you think is important. But I have news for you. If you look at the music further down the line, the middle of the bar is not between beats 2 and 3. It's between beat 1 and 2. That's where the middle of the bar is. The whole piece is, and I mean the entire piece from measure 1 to measure the last measure. It's all quarter notes, dotted half. That's, once you understand that, the rest, playing the piece is nothing to it. So we don't have, in that first piece, we have, the shape of that piece is a quarter and a dotted half. How do I know that? What makes me say that? Look at the, I have a lot of clues in this music. If you look at the third bar, you see a quarter note by itself, and then you have 3/4 notes afterwards. And then you see the next bar, Look at, are you know, you have numbered bars or not? Bar 5, you have a quarter note, then a rest separating it, okay? If you think of it, if you think of it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So I'm not stopping on 3. I'm just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. This is a little complicated because it doesn't, the measures don't always go with it, but you have to understand what's missing. Let me do the first measure for you. The first measure doesn't even have a beat to, rhythmic to play, but you have to feel it. Again, there's no beat to in the second measure, but you must feel it. I just put another quarter there so you can feel it. But I'm feeling it, I'm feeling my movement from beat 2 in the second bar, even though I'm not actually moving, but musically I am. So, okay, then we have bar 4. Okay, we have a C going to a B, which is not a 16th note. Yes, it looks like a 16th note, doesn't it? It's an A. Thank you very much. All right? Then I just slap on a 3, 3, 2, and I'm done. Oh, now we have a problem with bar 5. We're going from an 8th note to 3 note, which looks like triplet, doesn't it? Well, that first note of the triplet, that C, is really not a triplet. It's not a triplet until you play the next note. When you play the next note, that becomes a triplet. It isn't a triplet until you play that next note. So it's really just 2 8s there. So you have, and then you have triplets. And most people play triplet right away. Right? Why? Because they're accenting it because, oh, it's different, it's faster, I got to do something to it. But it's just an 8th note. It's 8 notes here too. I can easily do a 3, 3, 2. It's already built in my 3, 3, 2 on that measure. It's a dotted, the dotted E, the dotted 8th note E is 3. And then you have 3. Okay, fine. I have just told you how to play number 1. Number 2.
Okay.
Number 2. Let's have a look at this guy, number 2. There's a number of ways of doing it. There's not one way of doing this piece. We're going to give you a number of examples. First of all, look at bar, you got to look ahead. Look at bar 3. Notice how it's made, everything starts on the second 16th. You see that? Well, why don't you start on the second 16th at the beginning of the piece? Most people don't, but you should. Why they don't? Because the articulation throws you off. Let's do it without the first note, and you'll see. The whole piece is that way. So now let's throw in the first note. I'm exaggerating just so you can hear it. I wouldn't normally play that way for you. But I want you to hear how the second note is a pickup to the third, just like it is in every other bar. Even though you're slurring up to it. I'm not going up to it. I'm not playing. I'm not doing that. You see? So the whole piece is that way, entire piece from beginning to end, you're done with number 2. All right, now, these pieces are, once you figure out, you unlock the secrets to them, they're really not that difficult. You just have to unlock what he's doing. He doesn't change anything from the first measure to the last in any of these pieces. So let's do number 3. So what beat does it start on? Anybody want to tell me what beat does it start on?
4.
4. What does that tell you? It tells me that the entire piece starts on 4. Every bar starts on 4. Every one. So how do we know? Just trust me. Look. Now, there's no before the first bar. Oh, I understand, but think of it anyways. Then we have a beat 4 here. You have a beat 4 there. That C accented note. Ah, that's a beat 4. What about the next bar? Beat 4, absolutely. Let's talk about grace notes and let's talk about trills. This is beyond my lecture, but I'll throw it in for nothing. First of all, how do you do a trill? You don't do a trill right away, because the audience has to know what pitch you're decorating. So you play the note a little bit, and then you decorate. And then when you're done decorating, stop. And then you do the grace notes. Don't try to do a grace note, don't try to do a trill and then do a grace, no clarity. So, see how I stopped it on both ends? I'm exaggerating, you wouldn't do that much, but you stop it on both ends. How do you do the grace note? Well, is the grace note on the beat or before the beat? In this case, it's before the beat, yes?
Yes.
So then you would not accent the first of the grace notes, you would stress the second. If it was on the beat, you would do the first. So you got 2 grace notes, then you have to say, is it on the beat? Then the first one, yes. If it's not on the beat, the second one. Easy. Now, is there a 4th beat in that measure? I didn't talk about the triplets, did I? I've got to do that. We have 2 sets of triplets there. I'm not actually going to play triplets 8th notes. I'm going to actually play quarter note triplets. Because I'm going to bring everything to the next level. Let me talk to you why. What do I mean by quarter note level? If you take 2 of those 8th note triplets, that's a quarter note triplet. Do you hear that? Do you hear it? Do you hear that I'm making quarter note triplets? I'll put it on the board for you. Because it's important, and I'm going to tell you why it's important. But I got to write it first. So where's my pen? Here, look. Here's a triplet. There's a grace note in front of that one. Forget about it. Here's a triplet. I'm going to combine these 2, make a quarter note. Combine those 2, make a quarter note. Combine those 2, make a quarter note. Now I have a triplet of quarter notes. Why am I doing that? Why? Because am I beating 8th note triplets all the way through this piece? No, I'm beating quarter notes. So why are you doing quarter notes and all of a sudden you're going into 8th note triplets? For what reason? If you're in quarter notes, stay in quarter notes. Now how do you do that? Well, you combine a couple of those together, you get quarter note triplets. So you get 1, 2, ya, pa, pa, pa. Not 1, 2, ya, pa, 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 pa. That doesn't make any sense. To go quarter note, triplet, 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 triplet. It doesn't make any sense. So just stay in the quarter notes. 1, 2, pa, pa, pa. And how do you make it sound musical? Well, did I tell you there's no such thing as triplets? Well, that's because I'm doing 2s. I'm not doing 3s.
Yeah.
Those are 2s, but those are actually quarter notes. Make sense? Good.
Yeah.
The rest of the piece is, well, there's really nothing. Let me see.
What about the macaroni and noodles in this one?
Oh, the macaroni and noodles. Okay, very good for you. All right, so let's see where that starts. Measure 16 or 15 maybe. You want to do that measure, 15? The one with the 30-second notes. All right. Well, I can't see. I have the wrong glasses. I'm doing a 3 and a 5. I could do a 5 and a 3. That's a 5 and a 3. If I do 2s, I'm working way too hard and I probably have to practice 30 hours instead of 30 seconds. Now, I'd rather do it in 30 seconds than doing it in 30 hours. 30 hours, I can't do it. I don't need the 30 hours. 30 seconds. 5 plus 3, 30 seconds. 2, 30 hours. You take your pick. Okay. We have something that bothers me in measure 24. It's in the next set of 30 seconds. It's the one that has a 30-second rest. You see it? People accent that. Don't. You can't accent a note after a rest. So, and I hear a lot of students play, and they put it on the beat. No. Okay, thank you. What about the next thing? Oh, let's talk about measure 33. You see it? It has a low A and the downbeat for an eighth. And then you have an eighth rest and a 16th rest, and then you start on the second 16th of beat 2. Yes? Okay, if you start that phrase on the second 16th, then they all start on the second 16th. Every one of them does, not just the first. So how does that work?
Yeah.
If it starts on the second 16th, then they all start on the second 16th. Now, I'm not exaggerating, and you probably don't hear it, and I don't need you to, but my brain is doing that. It's not something I need the audience to know, but if the composer starts on the second 16th on one beat, then they all start on the second 16th. Number 4, let's do that. That one's tricky. This is very tricky because it starts with a rest on beat 1, and it doesn't start, this beat does not start on beat 1, it starts on beat 2. And it also has a problem because the second note is higher than the first, even though it's a half step higher. So if you play this, the audience doesn't hear the first note on beat 2. They hear it as a pickup to the second. It's already a 16th note off because you accented the second note. So it has to be. Okay. This is important. I am going to do 5s and 3s in this entire piece. Every measure, 5s and 3s. And how am I going to do it when it starts with a quarter rest? Well, that quarter rest is worth 4/16. So include that in your music. You must include rests in your music. They aren't there so you can take a nap or wait for your next entrance. They're actually part of the music. And that quarter rest is actually part of this piece. So that quarter rest is worth 4/16. And then you have the 16th note after that. Right? So I'm going to make a 5 out of it. Here, the rest is worth 4, and that first one is the 5th. Then I have a 3 left over. Right? Yep. Okay. And then the rest, then you have beats 3 and 4. I'm going to do 5 notes and a 3 there too, even though it's the same pitch. Let me play for you. That's the 5th note of the piece. And then we have 3. And we have another 5. And we have 3. They're all 5s and 3s, from the beginning of the piece to the end of the piece. Now let's talk about something that doesn't make sense to you. Measure 6. Do you see it? I'm just doing 5s and 3s, even though articulation doesn't say that. I'm still doing it. So anyways, does that make sense? Yeah. So once you lock into the keys of these 32 etudes, you got it. The key there is 5s and 3s. Is there another way to do it? Probably so, but that's what I came up with. Number 5, anything there? No, that's basically it's another one of those, it's a dotted half and a quarter note shape. The whole piece is that way. Dotted half, quarter note shape. The entire piece, from beginning to end, without exception. The whole piece is shaped that way. So it's all 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. The whole piece. Okay, very good. Do you see the triplets in measure 38? There's four. Do you see the triplets? The four sets. That's where the half note triplets come in. Right? Hear it? Yeah, otherwise, and I'm going to wonder when my next meal is. I'll tell you. Okay, fine. All right. Number 6. Okay, that's the 5 and the 3. It's 5 and the 3. I got to figure that one out. I don't care about the articulation. Do the articulation exactly as he says, but it's still 5 and 3. The articulation has nothing to do with it. See, I'm exaggerating, but that's right. Oh, we got a 6-8, number 7, yay! That's 1, 5, 1, 3, 5. One, 3, 5. Do you hear it? What if I do 1 and 4? I hear that all the time.
That's how we learn. See what we're doing? 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. The whole way piece, all 6-8. 1, 3, 5. Okay. Number 8 is actually the same problem we had with number 4. Is that right? With the rest in the middle, the beginning of the piece? It's actually the same deal. So that's 5 and 3s as well. No problem there. All right, number 9. What is this one? I'll tell you what I do. I do a quarter and a dotted half. Yeah. Okay, you can't hear my brain. I know you can't hear my brain. But I'm actually thinking 1, 2, 3, 4 in that piece. It just works. You could go the other way, put it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You could do that. A lot of people do that. And now I tell you why I don't do that. Because of the placement of that G on the 4th beat will make the people think that you're in 3/4 and not in 4/4. They're going to hear this 1, 2, 3, and a 1 and a 2. They won't hear it in 4 if you do that. They will hear it in 3 if you do this. That G on the 4th beat is no longer on the 4th beat. It's now on 1 of a 3/4 bar. Do you hear it? Mm-hmm. So I don't do this piece a dotted half and a quarter. I do it a quarter, dotted half. And then you're going to be safe. You know exactly where 1 is. It's on that G. Huh? Yeah, right. Yeah. I think we're done with that one. What about the next one? Well, how about 5 and 3 there? 5 because it has only a quarter note there at the end, so it's 5, 3, 5. It's all 5 and 3. And don't let the articulation change you. Okay, number 11. Come on, going quick, quick, quick. Da, dee, do, do, dee, do. Okay, so we're in 3. This time we're in 3 half notes. We have to make a decision. Is it going to be 1 plus 2 half notes? Or 2 half notes and 1 half? Is it going to be 2? Is it going to be 2 plus 3 or 3 plus 1? So what do you think it is? Is there anything in this music that tells you, is the stress on 1 and 3 or the stress on 1 and 2? Can anybody take a guess what the structure of this piece would be? Is it going to be this? That's 2 plus 1. 1, 2, and 3, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, and 1, which I think this probably is. Well, let's see if it wasn't. So if it's 1, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2. That's, so now I have a 1 plus 2. Did you hear the difference? Let me get rid of the tie on that D, then you'll hear it clearer. Huh? So now I have a half note and then 4 quarters, which make up the 2 half notes. So that's 1 plus 2, right? If I went the other way, and I'm going to do... So he's sort of telling me it is 2 plus 1 because he's got an accent on the 3rd bar on 3, and he's got a crescendo happening on the 2nd bar. And everything's pointing toward 1, 2, and 3, and 1. But to tell you, you could do it the other way and make a case for it. I did it with the diminuendo. I did make an accent on that 3rd beat. The diminuendo tells me that it isn't so important, and I'm actually tapering it down. See how I'm pressing on 2 all the time? You see how I did pressed on 2? See? So that's 1 plus 2. You hear that? And you have to make a choice. It's not my choice. It's whatever you think. Do you want to have 1, 2, 3, 1? Or do you want 1, 2, 3, 1? I can make a case either way. I just wanted to point out that we have to make decisions. There's so many. Is there any particular one that gives you a problem?
Can I ask you a question about that number 11, Bob?
Number 11.
Would it be applicable to use your time signature inversion on that and do it in 2/3?
You could, and I thought about that, but you want to make sure you're not making a 6/8. You're not making a 6/4 version of it. That's 6/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't want that. So in this case, I probably wouldn't.
Okay.
So thanks for asking. What else? I don't want to take any more time. So I'm hoping that I opened up the book for you, that I'm getting you to think about music in a different structure, a different light, that you have to go beyond the printed rhythms and combine notes to make a bigger rhythm, a bigger gesture, to make sure that you don't have nothing but downbeats in every beat. That's my thing. It's only 1 downbeat in every bar, not 10. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.